My son told me to find somewhere else to die. You're useless now. I packed my bags like the obedient mother I'd always been. 3 days later, I learned my late husband had outsmarted everyone. When my husband Thomas passed away suddenly, I thought my world had ended. We'd been married for 42 years. He was the calm, steady one. I was the heart of the family. Together, we built a life, a home, and raised one son, Eric, who became the center of our world. After the funeral, Eric started visiting more often, at first with comforting words, then with suggestions. Mom, that house is too big for you, he'd say, patting my hand. You shouldn't have to worry about upkeep. Maybe I can help manage it. At the time, I was too lost in grief to see the truth behind his smile. Eric didn't want to manage the house. He wanted to own it. A month later, he brought his wife, Melissa, and their 2 kids for dinner. Halfway through the meal, she slipped me a glossy brochure. Have you ever thought about moving to a retirement community, Helen? They're so peaceful. Activities, gardens, friends your age. I remember forcing a smile, pretending not to notice how Melissa's eyes wandered around my living room, judging the furniture, the artwork, the antique clock Thomas loved. A week later, Eric showed up unannounced with 2 suitcases. I laughed at first, thinking it was some cruel misunderstanding, but he wasn't joking. My son, my only child, had forged paperwork and used my grief as cover to claim ownership of everything Thomas and I built. When I protested, Melissa crossed her arms. Helen, you're making this harder than it needs to be. It's better if you move somewhere comfortable. Then Eric delivered the final blow. You're old, Mom. You've had your time. Don't make this ugly. Just find somewhere else to go. I packed my things in silence. 42 years of marriage reduced to 2 suitcases and a photo album. I ended up in a cheap motel with stained carpets and flickering lights. That first night, I cried until there were no tears left. But beneath the heartbreak, something else began to stir. A quiet anger. Thomas had always been careful with finances. I remembered how he'd walked me through the details of his estate years before. According to him, everything was supposed to go to me first, not Eric. So why was my son claiming otherwise? The next morning, I called Thomas's lawyer, Mr. Raymond Ellis. When I told him what Eric had done, he went silent for a moment. Helen, he said finally, that's impossible. The will we finalized 6 months before Thomas's death left you the entire estate, house, accounts, everything. My pulse quickened. Then how does Eric have legal documents saying it's his? There was a long pause. Come to my office now. When I arrived, Mr. Ellis had the original will spread out on his desk. I recognized Thomas's handwriting and signature immediately. According to the document, I was the primary beneficiary of all assets, with Eric to receive a trust fund that would activate only if he treated me with care and respect. If he failed to do that, the entire trust would revert to me. Mr. Ellis looked at me gravely. Your son forged documents to transfer assets. That's fraud, Helen. And because it involves elder abuse, it's a federal offense. For the first time since Thomas's death, I felt something close to power. Can we prove it? I asked. He smiled faintly. Oh, we can do more than that. That afternoon became what he jokingly called Operation Justice. We contacted the bank, froze every account, and alerted the authorities. By evening, Eric's credit cards were declined, his accounts locked, and utilities suspended. At 8 p.m., my phone rang. Mom, Eric's voice was tight. What's going on? The bank says all the accounts are frozen. I'm sitting in Mr. Ellis's office, I said calmly, the one who drafted the real will. Turns out Thomas left everything to me, not you. He started stammering excuses. Mom, I didn't mean. You meant every word, I interrupted, especially the part about finding somewhere else to die. Silence. Then he whispered, you wouldn't do this to me. I'm your son. I smiled to myself. Exactly. And you should have acted like one. 2 days later, Eric and Melissa were arrested for forgery, fraud, and elder exploitation. When the story hit the local news, son steals inheritance from widow mother, our small town buzzed with gossip. Strangers reached out to tell me I was brave. Some even thanked me for standing up for myself, but it wasn't bravery, it was self-respect. After the trial, I got my home back, along with the full estate Thomas had left me. But the biggest surprise came from the lawyer. Helen, Mr. Ellis said, handing me a sealed envelope. Thomas recorded a message for you and for Eric in case something like this ever happened. I watched the video alone that night. Thomas appeared on screen, smiling gently. If you're watching this, sweetheart, it means I was right about Eric's greed, but I was also right about you. You're stronger than you realize. Don't let anyone take what we built, not even our son. I cried for a long time after that, not from sadness, but from relief. It's been 6 months since then. Eric and Melissa are both serving time. I've turned Thomas's old study into a small art room where I paint every morning with sunlight pouring through the windows. People sometimes ask if I'll ever forgive Eric. Maybe one day. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Because the truth is, I'm not the woman who obeyed anymore. I'm the woman who outsmarted them all. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that sometimes the best revenge isn't taking everything back. It's finally realizing you were the real power all along.